Yes, yeah, I can hear you.
Yes,
Yes, I can
yes.
hear you.
What outcome are you expecting from all the propositions you are making? Perhaps either if there would be an opportunity to sit down and have those discussions you are proposing, what outcome are you expecting or outcomes?
Yeah, the outcome is simple. For us to either get back to having a union, a federation, all of us who were in Nigeria before, at the time we got to independence in 1960 at least, or if we can't, and that union could then be a proper federation, a confederation, as would have been the case if Aburi was not, sabotaged and abandoned, or the emergence of independent units of successor states from the defunct Federation of Nigeria. I am conscious of the words I use. What has been the problem all the while is the mechanism by which these discussions could have been heard to arrive at outcomes that will not take us first to Somalia or Yugoslavia. Where the politicians are going now, what they've been doing across the last 40, 50 years had been to pretend that there's no problem at all, especially since they moved the capital to Abuja. They converge in Abuja, pretending to be representing people from all across Nigeria, those of them in the Senate. And then the one president will hop out from somewhere, and one INEC sitting in Abuja will dictate who will vote and who will not vote, or how the votes will be counted, and all of that. And these are the things that have been imposed by that, constitution. And so I will say upfront that what Ninas expects as outcome from this entire process is to arrest the drifting ship of state. The ship of the Nigerian state is sinking. We may all pretend, like those who were in Titanic in those days, we may all pretend we do not understand that is what is going on. People are being slaughtered even in their homes. Others are being kidnapped on the highways. Every day you look at the news, you see the ones who have just been kidnapped for ransom. And if killings are going on on that scale across board, and we are saying, Ninas is saying, that it is on account of the fact that those who are living in the danger of that insecurity, whether they were in Plateau or in Port Harcourt or in Abeokuta and Ibadan, those who have to live in that danger are under this constitution are not the ones organizing their security, because arms and ammunition are on the exclusive list of that constitution. That is what has brought us to this insecurity, because you then leave your security in the hands of those who do not wish you particularly well. And they are seated in Abuja, surrounded by soldiers and policemen who guide them 24 hours. They are agents in our territories, the ones they call governors, again, are in that protection, swearing to defend, upholding that constitution that offer them humongous wealth while impoverishing the rest of the people to the point of death. And so they are all together, all of those who subscribe to that constitution, and these are now the political parties and all those who go to election after election under this constitution. And so the question of the security that people can see all around them that is not there is on account of this constitution. The question of the poverty that has overtaken them, this constitution absolves the government of responsibility towards them in section 6, subsection 60. I want our listeners to realize that what we are talking about is not an academic, some kind of thing of academic discussion. We are telling you what is happening to you, including the killings happening to you, including your economic assets that are taken. For instance, the Niger Delta, where the oil and gas is no longer their assets, now belong to people in Jigawa and Kano. It is this constitution that took your economic assets, your oil and gas. You are not going to get it back even in 50 years, except something takes down this constitution. And since it is your signature that has been implanted illicitly, fraudulently, in that preamble, it means that you are the one who submitted your land, your waters, your oil and gas assets into the Union of Nigeria to be managed in the manner that has been stipulated by that constitution. And it is by decree that everything was done. So you can see that unless something takes down this constitution, we go nowhere. Anybody who tells you that any of these things will change, the security you see now, the poverty you see, because Section 6, Subsection 6C of that Constitution absolves the government of responsibility towards the citizen. It's in black and white. If you know of any lawyer, whether it's professor of law or senior advocate, anybody or even these civil society people that come to run their mouth, human rights lawyers, ask them whether under this Constitution the government owes the citizen any form of obligation for school, for hospital, for welfare, for security. In black and white, Section 6, Subsection 6C says the government can, it's at their discretion to do or not do, and you do not have any legal recourse if they don't, meaning that if they don't do it, you are just go to cry to your God in your church. That's what it is. Then if that is the case, and you come to the appropriation provisions, that is the provisions under which, the arrangements under which a governor can go to take money that belongs to the state, or president can take the money that belongs to the country. The sections 81, 82 in that constitution give the president the spare key to the treasury. He can take all the money in your treasury. Section 121, 122 does the same for the governors. They can take all the money in the, because of the way that the appropriation provisions are written. Because it makes a leeway for them to take without talking to the National Assembly or their state assemblies. And then you come to Section 308 that gives them absolute immunity. You can't question them while they're in office, until they leave office. So if they don't owe you any obligation, and for anything at all, school, hospital, welfare, security, unlike what many people think is the case, the opposite is the case. The entire document is a fraud through and through. Everything you are told is a lie. And if that is the reason things are upside down, they don't owe you any obligation. They have the spare key to the treasury. They have immunity. You can't question them. Where will the dividends of democracy that people are going to run their mouth on TV every day, where will it come from? And so it is to arrest these matters. The fuel subsidy we're talking about, for instance, that nobody knows the price of petrol now, is because petrol, oil and gas and petroleum refinery are on that exclusive list. There's nothing in petroleum, in crude oil refining that cannot be done in Nigeria. But because it is on that exclusive list, people sit in Abuja and give license to whoever they deem fit. They may say, oh, it's one Fulani man that will refine for all of us. That's what you get. The 4 refineries that Nigeria built, none of them is producing anything. It's been story after story and billions of dollars being taken away in the name of refinery. All you need to solve that problem is to remove that impediment. People can refine. What is there in refinery? Biafra ran for 3 years. Vehicles were moving in the place. They didn't have to import anything because they were refining. It is because Nigeria of unitarism, Nigeria of centralized control, says nobody else can refine apart from federal government. The federal government has not refined for us in 30 years. Why can't we get away from the foolishness of thinking that we can continue to import 3 million barrels of crude oil we export every day? Then we get people who buy it from us to refine and bring back to us. The employment that we should have, we are not having. The pressure on the Naira is mostly, on account of the fact that we have to import this, finished products for everybody, for this 200 million plus population. As it is with the refineries, and of course, the fuel subsidy is now where you have to pay for that inefficiency, for that difference between what it should have been if we were producing here, with all the employment benefits, employment that will come with it, because you have millions of young people trooping around, you have no employment for them. You have no electricity. The same thing that happened to, the refineries happened to electricity. People don't have electricity because it's on the exclusive list. Electricity generation and transmission, only the federal government can do. What is there in electricity generation? Of course, the other day, Buhari was leaving office. He signed something to the effect that states can now do. All of those things are bogus. If you require gas to power your turbine, gas is still on the exclusive list. And so that problem has not been solved. The transmission, the generation and transmission. The starting point for discussing any change for any of these things I've listed, infrastructure, the security, the corruption we see because of the immunity that breeds impunity. All of those things go nowhere. The leadership that we have seen, what it has been all the while.
Yeah.
Look at it is the centralized control of electioneering that Abuja sits. You saw what happened in Imo. People can sit in Abuja. You saw what happened in 2023 presidential election. Everybody knew who won the election. Peter Obi won the election. Is he president today? No. Why is it so? The Constitution. The Constitution of Nigeria is what has enabled those who sit where they sit to decide what they decide that is still standing. So what NINAS is doing is to lead the rest of us to say, we cannot travel on this wrong road any further. Either we stop now and go to transition, to work out like South Africa did with apartheid in 1990, to work out what will become our union, or we disperse from this union of debt it has become on account of this imposition. That is where we are. That is what NINAS is leading. We are hoping that sanity will prevail in good time. Otherwise, we are closer to Yugoslavia now than anything else.
All right, good. It's important you've taken your time to lay this all out. But as we speak, a lot of people want to leave the country. A lot of people say Nigeria is corrupt. In fact, at a point, former United Kingdom Prime Minister says that the country was fantastically corrupt. So, I mean, people are living in droves. If you go to the international wing of our airports, you won't believe what you're seeing. Or if you find yourself in any international flight leaving Nigeria, it's usually full to the brim. Sometimes some people don't get seats in these international flights. So typically the point you're making, we'll have barely 2 minutes to go. The point you're making is that all the problems we are facing today is supposed to be sorted out by sorting out first the ground norm, isn't it? Which is the Constitution.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and how do we proceed with this? We'll just have 2 minutes. What do you think?
Right.
Who should be listening to what you're saying? Who should, steer some action in this direction?
Those 200 million people who are living in the fear of being killed, whether they are traveling or they're in their homes, in Abuja or in Port Harcourt or in Ibadan or Lagos, those people who are watching their currency collapsing, their economy upside down, those people who do not have equal opportunities with others who are so privileged, all of them, the only thing NINAS is inviting them to do now, two things: to put aside all of what they thought was the problem before, because that place they're going to is not the solution. They have to understand what the problem is, that it is this constitution, and that elections only renew the life of this constitution. The politicians who are cutting away billions and billions of naira and dollars every day are able to do so on account of the authorization of this constitution. And so, if we want a reversal of that situation, we must now demand a transition. NINAS has placed a plan on the table that can guide everybody through it. NINAS, the constitutional force majeure. And there's a 5-point proposition that takes us from start to finish for what needs to be done now. The only thing that needs to happen is that the peoples of Nigeria must now connect with that entire plan and make a concerted demand for a transition. If we wait, the election has happened, and we saw that it was inconclusive. We saw that the constitution was abandoned by both INEC and the judiciary. But since you are the ones who have to make constitution, and you have the peoples of Nigeria have veto on account of what I had earlier explained, they have veto over what is their constitution. So we can wake up inside February of 2024 to demand, that's all that we need to do now, to join in saying that NINAS is right, because we have examined what NINAS said, that we must now go to transition to rework the basis of our union. And if we're not doing that on account of people who are refusing to come, let us also bear in mind that the situation is not as helpless as it seems. Those who can manage their own affairs are going to take unilateral steps in self-determination, which is inalienable. Their sovereignty is inalienable. Those who sit in Abuja and hope that it is this forgery that will be basis of union forever, they are just making a mistake. Those who are being killed are not going to endure the killings. They've endured the seizure of the economic assets. They've endured all kinds of other indignities and dislocations. But to be slaughtered, to now be replaced by populations that are pouring in across the border, or that those who impose themselves now as government are doing all the kinds of things we see them doing. Nobody is discussing anything that might solve the problem. Okay. Let the peoples of Nigeria demand a transition now, so that we can go and solve this problem. Otherwise, it will go up in smoke, and it is avoidable.
All right. We have to thank you so much for your contributions on the Eastern Eye tonight. Tony Nnadi is, of course, he's been, laying it out here. Tony Nnadi is a legal practitioner, Secretary General of the Lower Niger Congress, LNC, and the co-convener of the NINAS, that is Nigerian Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for self-determination. Thank you so much for your perspectives on the program tonight.